Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we, cut through all the noise and really get to the heart of what matters from your sources. Have you ever felt that? That constant hum of worry, that background anxiety about what's next, or maybe those endless what ifs that just seem to take over your thoughts. We've all been there, I think, wishing we could just somehow cut that worry in half.
Yeah, exactly. And that's pretty much our mission for this deep dive. We're digging into some really timeless strategies from Dale Carnegie's classic book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. The sources we're using today are some powerful excerpts, really distillations of his ideas, called Overcoming Worry, Carnegie's Wisdom for a Calmer Life. And this stuff isn't just, theory. It's meant to be a practical guide for finding some peace of mind. Doesn't matter if you're a student facing exams or maybe an entrepreneur looking at market uncertainty, it applies.
Right. So what we want to do here is pull out those simple but actually really powerful insights, the kinds of things that can help you break free from that grip stress can have. These are really meant to be actionable habits, okay? Not just ideas floating around. We're talking about real shifts you can start making, like today,
Yeah.
to get back some mental space, find some clarity. Okay, let's get into it. So Carnegie kicks things off by telling us to live in day-tight compartments. Now, on the surface, that sounds, well, simple. Maybe too simple, but for someone dealing with all the pressures we face today, what's the real, the deeper power behind that idea?
Yeah, it's definitely more than just focus on today. Carnegie thought of it more like building psychological bulkheads, like on a ship, the
Yeah.
watertight compartments. The real insight there, I think, is that by consciously, intentionally building these mental barriers, you stop one leak, one worry in one area from flooding your whole mind. It's really about containing your mental energy just to the present, making sure tomorrow's possible storms don't sink you today.
That image, the mental bulkheads, that's really vivid. Makes you think how easily one anxious thought can just balloon, right, take over everything. But what's the biggest, obstacle people hit when they try to actually do this day-tight thing?
Well, often the first resistance point is just our built-in habit of looking ahead, always planning, always anticipating, future casting. It takes real conscious discipline to keep pulling your mind back to now. It's not saying ignore the future entirely. It's more about trusting you'll deal with tomorrow's issues when tomorrow gets here. And you'll do it using today's fully focused energy.
That discipline definitely sounds like a muscle you got to build up. And speaking of things that can feel overwhelming, the second habit. Don't worry about inconceivable things. Wow, this feels like a massive one, especially now with just constant information, disaster stories everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. It is huge. Because worry, inherently, it often twists reality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes something totally improbable feel like it's just around the corner. So Carnegie challenges us to swap that knee-jerk, fear-based what if for a really rational question. Ask yourself,
Yeah.
okay, honestly, is this really likely? And even if it was, what can I actually do about it right now? This isn't about being in denial. It's about sorting out productive concern from just, wasteful, catastrophic thinking. It's like cutting through that mental fog that makes threats look bigger than they are.
That's such a key distinction, yeah. Productive concern versus wasteful catastrophizing. But okay, what if you do that rational check and there's still that pit in your stomach, that fear? The third habit Carnegie brings up is, it feels really counterintuitive. Accept the worst case scenario. How does facing the thing you dread most actually help?
Right. This is where Carnegie gets, I think, really transformative. It's like a psychological jujitsu move, seriously. By consciously picturing and then mentally accepting the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen, you basically pull the rug out from under the fear. You take away its power. It's often the unknown that paralyzes us. Right. Once you've actually faced the worst in your mind, you can then start to plan. Even if the plan is just, okay, if this happens, I will pivot or I'll rebuild from that point. And the amazing thing is, once you do that, the anxiety often just evaporates because you've moved from being scared to being proactive. And, if the worst doesn't happen, which, let's be honest, is usually the case, you win anyway because you already stopped the worry spiral. You gained clarity.
If not, you win. I like that. That reframing, it really shifts the whole emotional weight, doesn't it? But for someone who's already feeling deeply anxious, how does Carnegie suggest they take that first step? That scary step towards accepting the worst without just, spiraling deeper.
It's a very deliberate exercise, he suggests. He actually says, write it down. Meticulously outline what that worst case scenario looks like. Just the act of getting it out of your head, out of that swirling chaos onto paper. It makes it seem more finite, less scary. It's like a controlled confrontation, you see, not just giving up.
Okay, got it. A controlled confrontation. And once you've maybe faced that potential worst, the fourth habit comes in. It's about tending to your inner world. Maintain a positive mental attitude. Hmm. Is this just think positive vibes, or is there something more to Carnegie's take here?
Oh, it's much deeper than just simple optimism, much more profound. Carnegie actually believed that worry itself is a kind of resistance. Resistance to actively expecting good things to happen. He wasn't pushing for like blind positivity where you ignore reality, but rather a disciplined choice to steer your thoughts towards beneficial outcomes. And a really key practice here is daily gratitude. Seriously. Whether you're that student facing a tough year or the entrepreneur launching something risky, actively looking for things to be grateful for, even tiny things, it can fundamentally change your default thinking. It helps you thrive through challenges, not just, survive them.
Right, that disciplined choice. Focusing on gratitude, positive expectation.
Yeah.
It feels like that would create some real inner momentum. And that flows perfectly into the fifth habit, keep busy and solve problems.
hmm
This sounds like the ultimate fix for those endless loops of overthinking we get stuck in.
It really is.
Yeah.
Carnegie totally got that keeping busy isn't just about distracting yourself. It's a way of uh, purposefully redirecting your energy. Purposeful energy redirection. See, when you're actively focused on a task that needs your attention, your prefrontal cortex, the problem-solving bit of your brain, it gets fully engaged. And this literally crowds out the worry signals coming from the amygdala. So the insight is, action isn't just something that happens after you feel peaceful. Action is a direct pathway to getting there. A profitable tip here is to break down those big, overwhelming problems into the smallest possible steps. Tiny, manageable actions. That makes taking action feel less scary, more immediate.
So you're not just spinning your wheels, but actually channeling that mental energy productively. Makes sense. But, often our worries aren't purely internal, are they? They come from outside. Interactions, friction with people. Which brings us nicely to habit number 6. Cooperate and don't arbitrate.
Exactly. Yeah, a huge chunk of our daily worry often comes from, well, conflict with others or feeling slighted. Carnegie's advice here is to consciously choose working together over fighting, collaboration over confrontation. So instead of digging your heels in, fighting for your point, try to really understand the other person's view. Where are they coming from?
Yeah.
If you approach disagreements with kindness, empathy, a spirit of cooperation, you can often quickly resolve things that might otherwise just sit there and fester, creating tons of unnecessary worry. It sounds simple, maybe, but actively looking for common ground instead of just drawing battle lines, it can be incredibly powerful for your own peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. Totally makes sense. Less conflict definitely equals less to worry about. Okay, and then for those worries that just seem to stick around, the seventh habit gives us a concrete way to handle them so they don't just loop endlessly. Decipher worry through reflection. Tell us about that structured 3-step method he suggests.
Yeah, this is a really solid framework designed to stop that endless worry cycle. Step 1, clearly analyze the worry. What exactly is it? Define the problem. Get specific. Step 2, based on that analysis, figure out your next actions. What specific steps can you take right now or very soon to deal with it? And then step 3, which is crucial, decide when you'll revisit it, if you even need to.
This gives you a clear timeline, right? Like a mental appointment for that worry. So
Yeah.
you're not constantly churning it over and over in your head. You either take immediate action or you give yourself a defined boundary, which lets your mind rest in the meantime.
Giving yourself permission to consciously pin a worry until a specific time, that feels like it could be a radical change for people who feel constantly swamped. What's the real practical power in doing that? And that structured delay, that temporary release. The power is all about reclaiming control. That's the core of it. Instead of the worry controlling you, you control when you engage with it. It acknowledges the concern is valid, but stops it from eating up all your mental energy 24/7. And Carnegie offers this fantastic bonus tip, too, which really ties all these strategies together. Super practical for daily use. It's simply create a worry list.
Ah, the worry list. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds so simple. Almost like something you'd do back in school, maybe. But I guess it's more powerful than it sounds.
Oh, it's incredibly effective, especially for objective analysis. You literally just write down every single thing you're worried about, get it all out, lay it out plainly on paper. Often, just seeing them written down helps demystify them, makes them feel less overwhelming. Then, you go through each one using the principles we've just talked about. Can you act on this immediately? Is it one of those inconceivable things you can just dismiss? Or does it need that deeper 3-step reflection to be looked at again at a set time? It's really about turning that abstract, overwhelming feeling of anxiety into concrete, manageable tasks or decisions.
Right. As we start to wrap up this deep dive, it's really clear that Carnegie's wisdom, boiled down into these habits, it offers such a practical path forward, doesn't it? It feels like, by grabbing onto even just a couple of these strategies, you really could dramatically cut down on worry, start living with more clarity, more purpose. As we've gone through them all, which one really stood out to you, like as a go-to for handling the noise of modern life?
For me, honestly, is how they all connect. The synergy between them, that's what really stands out. Starting with the discipline of living in those day-tight compartments, focusing just on today. Then the freedom you get from dismissing those inconceivable things that just distort reality. And that surprising bravery in facing the worst-case scenario so you can make a plan. It's all about moving from passive fear to active control. Then you add cultivating that positive attitude, keeping busy to actually solve problems, choosing cooperation, using that three-step reflection. They all build on each other to create a calmer, much more effective way of thinking. And yeah, that bonus tip, the worry list, it just makes it all so actionable, takes abstract anxiety and grounds it in real steps.
And remember, this deep dive was really custom tailored for you listening. It's meant to be a shortcut to getting well informed on this, well, vital topic of overcoming worry. Let's just think about it for a second. How could even one of these habits start to shift your daily experience? Starting like right now, imagine that ripple effect, the mental space you could reclaim.
Yeah, and that brings up a really important question to maybe mull over after this conversation is done. If worry often twists how we see reality and wastes just huge amounts of our limited energy, what new possibilities, what unexplored potential opens up in your life when you reclaim that energy, when you redirect it towards intentional action, towards genuine gratitude, maybe creative projects, instead of pouring it into what ifs and things that probably won't ever happen?
That's powerful stuff to think about, really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Carnegie's wisdom on worry. We really look forward to continuing your journey of discovery with our future deep dives.